Hi, everyone. I'm Christine Tulley, President and Executive Writing Coach at Defend, Publish, and Lead. And welcome to a re-record of episode 135, Keeping Kids Entertained So You Can Work. If you listened to this episode earlier when it was put out, the quality was not that great. I'm not sure what happened. So this is a re-recording of that episode. So if you gave up on it, give it a listen again. It's, I'm sure, hopefully sounding much better. And there is a set of slides that go along with what I'm going to talk about today on this episode. But as always, I will describe what it is that I'm looking at, and links will be in the show notes. And for this episode, this one is about keeping kids occupied while you are trying to get some work done. So this might be at home. As a caveat, I have two school-age kids, so my kids were not babies or toddlers when I was thinking through some of these concepts. But they were all at the age where they could work independently for a little while. So I would say probably in the ages of age 4 to, 12, 13, 14. Even now, I have a 17-year-old and some of these things still work. At the moment, I have two school-age kids, age 12 and 17. So, these strategies have gotten me by over the years in various periods. Certainly during the pandemic when we were all at home and homeschooling, but also during summers where everybody was home a little bit more often. And it's not that the children needed me all the time, but they needed me sometimes. And certainly I was looking for things to have them do that weren't always screen related. For the record, I'm very medium on screens. I'm not anti screens for kids, but I'm also not in favor of them only looking at screens, because I found out for me that a lot of times that would backfire when I would assume that, oh, they're watching a movie, I'm good, I can get some work done. Often that just backfired for lots of reasons. They got bored pretty quickly and needed something to do. So these are things that have been tried and true strategies for me and for other academic moms and dads that I know have been trying to use these. So hopefully they help you if you are in need. If you are not a parent, you may want to pass this episode on to somebody else, or, if you've got somebody at home that might take advantage of these strategies, check them out. So one of the things I mentioned in the episode, the first time I recorded it, is that we have long had a craft cabinet in our kitchen. It's kind of a bad cabinet with a broken Lazy Susan, like a circular kind of shelf inside it. And so it's been a great place for us to just stash a bunch of craft supplies because, quite frankly, I don't really care that it's a mess. It's in sort of an inconvenient corner of the kitchen. And when children were smaller, they were able to reach it because it was one of the lower cabinets. So over the years, I kept it constantly stocked. I just took a picture of it for this episode so everybody can see how messy it is. There's things in there like shaving cream to make slime. There was glitter. There was construction paper, lots of paint brushes. It doesn't get used as often as it used to be. Back in the day when my children were in and out of it regularly, I would restock it regularly. So especially during the summer when it got pretty heavy use, I would put new supplies in there from time to time. So if I would say, I need to do some work calls, you guys need to find something to do, I could send them to the craft cabinet and they wouldn't say, oh, well, we've already been in there, everything's broken, everything's old. So I did have to weed it out pretty regularly. But other things that worked out great in there for me were throwing in some old magazines and scissors. This was something that my younger daughter did just with some friends, I think last summer. It was a rainy last summer day, and I gave them a whole bunch of magazines and some scissors and glue sticks and construction paper, and I told them to make me some collages. And when I came back, they were just having a great time doing it. So I can't remember if we did a theme or whatever. I think they decided to make collages of what they thought their future homes would look like or something, but they got really into it. It didn't cost me anything. I had scissors, I had glue, I had magazines laying around. And I know this was also a great spot for school supplies that were kind of beat up from being used, but they still had some life left in them. So lots of old crayons end up here. We even got a crayon melter to make some cool crafts and things like that. But other things that would be in there were boxes from a group called KiwiCrate. This is a craft subscription box or a science subscription box if you're interested in doing a science one. The company that KiwiCrate that does them, I think it's called KiwiCo, like KiwiCo. We used to get these boxes once a month for our kids. One of my children was totally into doing the box when it came every month. My other one, not so much. But we would stack up and save some of these boxes. So if we got one in the mail and nobody wanted to do it right away, I hung on to a couple of them. And then during a snow day, for me, where I am in Ohio, we get frequent snowstorms and things that cancel school. So these were great to bring out on those days. We made a really beautiful one. There's a picture of it on the corner of the slide that shows a beautiful garden that we made out of felt and some wire to make a little like, it basically was like this exotic like little box garden. So those were really cool. It's not a cheap service, but the years that we did subscribe to it, I felt it was totally worth it because sometimes I would give away those crates to other academic parents that were in need and needed some time to get some work done. So crafts are always a big one with us. Also, I let my daughter over the years and some of her friends do some reorganization for me in the house. So sometimes they don't want toys or don't want those kinds of things, particularly as they're getting older. And I, with her, this seemed to be something that was really popular where I just let them totally reorganize my pantry or reorganize a bathroom. I bought some organizers, and the pictures on screen are showing a bathroom reorganized with a bunch of products like lotions and stuff like that. And then our snack area in our pantry. And the nice thing about this is this kind of project could keep them busy. I told, I was more than willing to grant a little bit of allowance money for it, but also it helped me that I could get some work done and not feel like I needed to be working on house projects. So home organization projects were another really great one for me. I sometimes would spend a few dollars on a couple of organizers, but a lot of times I could find old baskets or things around the house. And, you have to be willing to live with the results. So maybe you won't be able to find some of the things that you were looking for. But for me, this was a great tool. Another thing that worked out really well were just general project kits. So there's one showing in a picture on screen about growing a micro garden with some seeds. These kinds of little projects that are sort of all in one, I think are great. Not that you need to buy a new project kit every week, but we did have some of these that came in as Christmas presents or Easter presents for us. And I know for us, that was a great way to kind of hold on to them. And then when I needed to break one out, I did. So I just kind of kept these also in a cabinet in our dining room. And then I could just pull out projects as we needed something to do. So those were sometimes a good win. Other things that I really liked that I was willing to pay a little bit for, not a ton of money. So this one that I'm showing on screen is a make your own color in dollhouse. It was $34, so 34 US dollars from a group called Uncommon Goods. We're still working on this thing, but basically what it is a box that lays flat that has a 3-story dollhouse with different walls and furniture that folds up and cuts and you can punch it out and then you can color it. So we've worked on the different color schemes and things in the different rooms over the years, but it was a very absorbing and engaging project. And it's one that you can fold it up flat, so you don't have to leave it standing up, because so many of these projects, then you don't know what to do with it when children aren't playing with it anymore. This one you can fold down flat again and then pop it back up when you're ready to work. So it's always a great one to bring out on a rainy day to work on a new part of the house. It's an ongoing project. So I have not found the equivalent of something that's not a dollhouse. There probably is something like it, but this was a great small thing. It's on a table. How big everything is in there, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was a nice size that it would appeal to a lot of ages. So certainly my 12-year-old would be excited about doing it, but I could see a 5-year-old being excited about doing it as well. Another project that I did not do at my house, but other academic parents did, was get these cardboard coloring playhouses. These are all mostly inexpensive, I think is relative, but most of them were around between, like $30 and $40 US, but they're big enough for kids to actually climb into. So I have pictures of those on the screen. There's one that's like a garage to fix cars. There's another one that's a barn. There's a castle. There's a playhouse with like a punch out window, but they're big enough for kids to go into. And again, they fold flat. So if you open it up, kids can color the outside and design the outside, and then they can actually go inside and play with it. So also a lifesaver. I've seen at other people's houses. We did the good old fashioned forts with like a card table and a blanket, but I could see where my children would be much more excited about something that actually looks like the thing they're pretending that it is. So these are great. A lot of them are on Amazon. So, and I know for me, when I'm looking for a birthday present for somebody that is, 5, 6, 7 year old, I'm going to pick something like this because I think it would be really, really fun. Another thing that we did was we did making some meals in the summers. So when my younger daughter was a little bit younger, I have a picture on screen of her and a couple friends where they were basically making lunch and some cookbooks that are cookbooks and baking books for young chefs. Especially in the summers, I always decided to just live with a lot of mess in the kitchen and I really didn't care. I let them actually make some of the things. I'd be working in the next room so I could supervise, the stove or the oven or whatever. But I know cooking was another thing that was really great in the summer. And especially my younger daughter, as she's gotten older, has become a pretty good cook. So she can make, lunches for everybody in the middle of the day on days that we're at home or days that we might have away from school. So another really great suggestion if you have children that are old enough or could handle something like this. Um, Another one that is a good suggestion. Oops, let's see here. Oh, I don't have a slide for it, but another one that's a good suggestion that I also did that I think was really helpful is that we did do some of the activities like having a lemonade stand in our neighborhood. Certainly, we live in the suburbs, so it was okay to do something like that. Certainly, if you're not in an area that would allow for something like that. But we would let kids sell lemonade or cookies, and I would just work outside, so I could watch the lemonade stand situation happening and do some work. Of course, I had to supervise it, but it was another good one. And we also did things like letting the kids wash cars and things like that. So cars in our driveway. Again, we had the space, we were out in the suburb, but that was another engaging project because I found that at least with the children, they might not be the best at doing car washing, but the car looked a lot better than it did before and it kept them busy for a while. Plus they could, have, especially in the summers, have some fun with, the hose and the outside. So I hope these suggestions are helpful. And for me, one of the things that I think is really important to think about trying to, have children entertain while you work. I tried to think about this in a very practical way. I knew when I had children underfoot at home, I can't get 8 hours of work done in a day. All of these things combined probably could not keep them busy for 8 hours, or if they could, it would be like a heck of a day. But for me, I tried to think about, can I do some work before they wake up? And then when I really need to get some other work done, I would break out these different things in a rotation. So maybe one day we do some crafts, another day we do some cooking, another day we'd work on the dollhouse and so on. And certainly, we did work in some screens in there where we watch movies at home and things like that, or we took a walk together. This is something that is in a book that I've been working on for a long time, but there's a book called Time to Parent by Julie Morgensen. And it's a great book because it really talks about the fact that you can be, busy as academics often are, and have meaningful, frequent contact points with children that are engaging. And it doesn't have to be a giant block of time. It just has to be regular and it has to be meaningful, meaning you're devoting, undivided attention to them. So I thought that was a great book. And I think a lot of these things that I'm suggesting, my daughter will remember, both my daughters will remember, doing some of these fun crafts. And they're probably not going to remember at the same time that I was always busy working. I'm thinking they might remember, oh, that dollhouse was really cool. Or remember that time we made that awesome cake that was purple or something like that. So hopefully that'll be the way that works out. I guess time will tell, but I am going to put that link to the book in the show notes because I know for academic parents, this is always an ongoing concern because you feel like you're working all the time, but you want to be parenting more. And I think her book is a very realistic approach that I think can manage both sides with academia. So happy writing this week.